And we are live. This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Cow Trading on Facebook. Trade with Travis on YouTube. Hope everybody's doing very well today, this morning. A few minutes late, trying to be able to make sure we got everything go situated. But let's go ahead and get into the disclaimer and look for some trades. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. Now, understand that Forex involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money, also involves risk of being able to lose money, so please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you'll end up making money today. So showing myself on the screen, hopefully you can be able to see me. I see everybody on Facebook, and now I see everybody on YouTube. So hopefully everybody's doing very well. Happy new month to you. Time ended up going back yesterday. I ended up going outside to my weight room. I ended up saying that it was 8:03, and I was like, oh man, I'm an hour late. And then I thought about it. I was like, okay, well, I'm only 3 minutes late. But hope everybody's doing very well when it comes down to doing that. Hopefully you end up having a good Halloween, and hopefully if you haven't voted, you still have one more day. So please make sure that you end up casting your vote. Obviously, we got a lot of stuff that's actually going on, and everybody's choice matters when it comes down to doing that, but you got to participate to be able to get that done. So hopefully everybody's been doing very well when it comes down to that. Now let's take care of what we can be able to take care of, which is right now being able to see if we have any opportunities. Keep in mind with the election being tomorrow, I don't expect that we're going to end up finding any pairs per se for being able to take any trades. Matter of fact, I'm telling you right now, I'm probably not looking at trading anything U.S. based. So what we'll end up doing is doing something a little bit different today. We'll take a look at the scanner, see if we have anything that's a little bit that might be in a position to be able to trade. If we can, we'll look to be able to scalp it. If we cannot, then obviously we won't take any moves or anything else like that. But once again, I'm probably not going to trade anything U.S. based until after the 3rd, unless the setup is absolutely perfect. And I don't think anything's going to be absolutely perfect because we don't know what's going to happen on the 3rd. So we end up going from there. So probably the first initial trade that we're going to end up taking that may be a little bit long term will end up being more from a standpoint of Wednesday from being able to go from there. So here we go. If you're in the comments, drop in a like. Make sure that you share this video with somebody else and everything else. Let's go ahead and get started. Switching over the screens. All right, so what happened on Sunday? Nothing really. We didn't see anything when it came down to that. It was basically a trader's day, so and there was no high impact news, so we didn't expect anything in the first place. Earlier today, we ended up having Euro zones marking PMI with Spain, Italy, Germany, and France, and being able to see what's happening with that. All of that news ended up coming out very well, so we should see a little bit of an uptick when it comes down to Eurozone type of movements going into it a little bit later on today. We're going to end up having ISM manufacturing PMIs in the United States. And then after that, we're going to end up having interest rate decisions. I think that the market will move for the interest rate decisions a little bit later on today. That just means that you have to be up and aware right around that 11:30, 12:30-ish time when it comes down to the Australian dollar, and keeping an eye out on what's happening with that if you like trading the Australian dollar. For the last few months, every time that this has happened, the market has moved down. Okay, so with that being said, I expect that the market is going to end up moving down again for us being able to get in. Cole, what's up? Thanks for the like. I do appreciate it. And being able to get in when it comes down to that. So let's take a look and see what we have when it comes down to the big three. We're taking a look at this overall. Because we have a new candlestick on the monthly, we're going to start looking at the monthly chart. And based off of what we have right now, we have a counter trend line break up to the top with the market being in a buy zone. What does that mean? What that means is we expect that there's going to end up being a bull rally with this market opening up outside of this overall counter trend line break to the upside and the monthly basically being in this position. We should expect that the market should be going to the upside when it comes down to this overall move. So the monthly is going to end up being considered to be up. Let's take a look at the weekly. We end up taking a look at the weekly. We have that counter trend line break, but now the market is basically somewhat in the sell zone, but we see a lot of consolidation. And we're looking at it at the beginning of the week. Obviously, the market has been playing off of this consolidation, so we see that we might end up seeing people actually sell at this particular point. I don't expect that that is going to initially happen, but that could be a factor when it comes down to movement. But we have sideways movement when it comes down to the weekly. Taking a look at it from the daily position. Taking a look at it from the daily position, we can see more of that consolidation. We've seen that people tried to buy it up from this particular point, and then after that, people basically end up saying, hey, we're going to end up selling it. You keep on giving us this high price, expecting that the market is going to end up falling back down to support at 12,000. The stochastic does not matter in consolidated markets. We've already went through that through all of the times that we've talked. But if this does happen, and let's say if the market does make this move, I do expect that this market will start to fall down and go from there. Now, any other market, any other time, I will look at being able to sell this at this particular point. Right now, right now, I'm not, because of what's going to end up happening on Wednesday. Even if we scalp the market and make a little bit today, I don't think it'd be necessarily worth it when it comes down to this overall move, unless you're just trying to get some type of small-ish movement right now when it comes down to everything that you're doing. Go with your mama. Go with your mama. Go with your mama. When it comes down to movement from there. So we do have the market in the sell zone. You did get a high price. If you end up selling it a little bit earlier today, then maybe you might end up getting a little bit of scalping. We do expect that the market will fall down to about 12,000 if that does happen. But right now, like I said before, this is, unless you're just looking to be able to scalp the market, to me, this is not worth it. It's not even worth my time, because it may end up pushing back up. So I'm out of that market. Taking a look at oil. What we're looking at with oil is that we expect that this market is going to continue falling to the $31 mark. We take a look at it from a weekly perspective. We see that the market is basically hitting a new lower low. If we go back to what ended up happening off the monthly market, we see that we're fully has broken a counter trend line break to the downside. So we do expect that this market is finally going to end up moving to this $31 mark. We've been talking about this since early July, and now the movement is really starting to pay off. It kind of makes me upset that I didn't stay with that overall trade from the consolidation, because we thought that the market was going to end up moving down to that overall realm, and we didn't play it. We just played it off a consolidation rule. So sometimes you get hurt when it comes down to just trying to follow fundamentals. But this is what that looks like on the weekly. Market ended up breaking it. Right now, we see that the market is basically retesting. We want this market to retest up to the $37 mark and give us an opportunity to be able to sell down. We want to be able to sell down to $31 a barrel. Any high price that we can be able to get at this particular time would be a very good move. Currently, right now, if we look at it from a daily perspective, the only thing that we're looking at right now is that the market is in the buy zone. We want the market to be able to push up. If it can push up above 37, then that'd be great. If it gets towards that $39 mark, then that'd be even better for this overall move. And then after that, we can be able to find some other, we can be able to find a position to be able to go from there. So market fell down as low as $33 a barrel. Then after that, the market is basically pushing that right here. I do expect that we're probably going to see a week of overall movement to the upside, but I am going to keep my eye on it because it is in an R3 position. With it being in an R3 position, the market could just retrace right around $36 a barrel, and then after that fall again. So we have to keep that in mind. We know the oil is probably going to end up being weak and at least hit this position at 31.38, but we just have to keep our eyes out on it while the market is actually moving. So oil is expected to be down. Let's take a look at what's happening with gold. Gold at this particular point is in a buy zone, but it's in a R6 zone as well. If you're a part of our masterclass and you understand what R6 zones are, essentially it's a no trade area. And meaning what I mean by no trade area, it doesn't give you as great as a value as the market falling down to the prime spots that we want to be able to buy at. So at this particular point, this market has to prove to me that the market is going to end up falling, that the market is going to end up breaking out with force before even thinking about being able to trade this. And based off the weekly, we see that this market is reacting with this purple trend line to the downside. Let me get rid of this one. We don't need that one anymore. We're reacting with this purple trend line to the downside, and the only thing that we need to focus in on is that we want this market to be able to fall a little bit more. Anywhere around the 1700 to A little bit less than 1800 mark will be a very good price to be able to get in. For my scalpers, if you are a scalper, you want to be able to sell down to 1845-ish. If the market keeps on falling down to that area, then 31 area is a very good price to be able to look at being able to get in. I will not look at buying or not be eager in buying until the market ends up breaking a trend line. If it doesn't, when it comes down to that, we take a look at this based off of the daily. We can see that the market is in the buy zone as well, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to end up breaking out. It just means that the market is in the buy zone and the weekly is in the buy zone. So we do have trade alignment, but the question is it going to end up being worth being able to push out of this position? The way that we can be able to find that out is that we look at this trend line right here. If it does break this trend line, we will look at being able to buy up to 1965, which is basically this overall area where there was consolidation, the consolidation highs right here. If it does break out, then we're good when it comes down to that. But once again, ultimately, it has to break past this purple trend line before I even think about being able to buy it. If we do get that, then quite frankly, we'll take it. If not, then quite frankly, I'm not going to do anything at this particular point. So we're done with the big three. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at the scanner, and then after that, let's take a look at the currency momentum chart, and let's see what we have. Let's start off with the currency momentum chart, and we'll be able to go from there. For us, currency strength. Currently, right now, we see that there's a mixed bag and everything is below 25. The only loser right now is the pound when it comes down to everything. I don't know why it happened at 4 o'clock, so we have to pay attention to that. Overall, all of the markets right around 20, and the lowest one is at negative 20. So there's really no winner. There's really no separation. So overall, once again, that may not be a trade to be able to take early this morning and being able to look at that. Typically, you'll like to be able to see that the values are over 40, and then after that, you start to have separation between each pair. But let's go ahead and take a look at the momentum chart, so maybe we might have some ideas about what's happening. Currently, right now, we can see that the Canadian Swiss franc is at 21.57, meaning that we do have momentum when it comes down to buying or selling. We have to see if this is coming down or going up when it comes down to the ADX. But the stochastic slow is at 67, so the market's in a no trade zone. Look at the Euro Aussie. The Euro Aussie is at 29%. Early this morning it was at 33, but the market is at 18. So we should be looking at possibly being able to buy when it comes down to the Euro Aussie if it gives us an opportunity to be able to buy. We see that the Euro United States dollar is in a position that it's at 17, but the stochastic is at 1. I like this one for the being able to get into a buy position as well, if we can be able to look and see how this market is going to end up reacting. But once again, that's US based, so it kind of makes it kind of hard to be able to make a decision on that. Everything else is just not ready when it comes down to overall looking at it. So we'll pay attention to the Euro Aussie. We'll look at the Canadian Swiss franc. The Canadian Swiss franc is at 16.5. Once again, that's not in. Euro Aussie will probably be the only trade that I'll look at for its rallying. Retracing, if we look at it, New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, we're looking at possibly being able to sell on this overall pair. The market is above 40. The stochastic is at 88, and maybe a scalping opportunity when it comes down to trading that. So the two pairs that we're going to end up looking at today will end up being the Euro Aussie and the New Zealand dollar Australia. Now, keep in mind, a little bit later on today will end up being interest rate decisions for the Australian dollar. So keeping an eye on these pairs will ultimately give us a chance to be able to know what's going to happen with the overall market in general. Since we're going to look at Australian dollars, I want to take a look at the Australian yen as well. And we'll take a look at the Australian yen, and let's take off this. I'm going to take out this value. Let's see what happens. This market is at 30 with a stochastic at 6. So this market has already started moving. We are looking at potentially being able to sell, so I'm going to pay attention to that as well. This market may have already made its move, but hopefully maybe not. So we're going to focus in on Australian pairs and be able to take a look at those first. We'll get into the NASDAQ 100 and see if there's some actual pairs, but I want to focus in on Australian pairs first. Let's see what we have. So we go through, let's take a look at the Australian yen first. Since we're already looking at this chart, we see that this market has been flushing from 75 all the way down to 73. The market is in a little bit of consolidation at this particular point, and that's looking at it from the 2 hour. If we go back to the weekly is now in the buy zone. which actually sucks because we've been looking at this position for a while. We end up taking a trade on it and getting out of it a little bit earlier. So we see that the market is in a R3 position, meaning that we should be looking to sell down to 71.18. If we can be able to get a high price, then we'll be good to go. But the market is in the buy zone on the weekly, but it's in a R3 push zone on the daily. So we have to pay attention to that. So weekly, in this point, is down. It's at an R3 position, but the stochastic is not in place. I don't necessarily like that. We take a look at what's happening with the daily. We see that the daily ended up breaking a counter trend line break about 5 days ago. That was the big move that we were talking about at 76. Since then, the market has pushed back up, gave a retracement again, and then sold down one more time. When the market wasn't even nowhere close to the sell zone. But we have to pay attention to what's happening with that. Ultimately, it's in a no trade area. I think we might have missed on this move. If we get a high price on this move, then it'll be good to go. But I think we've missed on this move unless we end up getting some movement a little bit later on today, and it goes very well for the Australian dollar. So Australian yen, looking at it, we're out on this pair. We missed out on that move. That sucks, but it is what it is. For it being able to trade it. Let's take a look at the euro. Let's take a look at the euro Aussie. Euro Aussie, what are we trying to do? We're looking to be able to buy. We're looking to be able to buy on this overall pair. We see that this market has fell back down to consolidation. This market went up all the way up to 196 a few weeks ago, and it has stabilized and fell back down into this overall position. Currently, right now, we see that the market is close to the sell zone when it comes down to overall positions. So not necessarily the greatest thing to look at right now at this particular point in time, but if we're paying attention to how this market is actually moving, we want to see this market kind of break the counter trend line break that this overall move has made since 168, and since then has been pushing down. Let's go back to the weekly again. Let's take a look at it. Currently, we look at consolidation. We see that we're basically at the top of this consolidation and starting to fall. Point of control is at 164. We go back to the daily. Daily is getting close to the buy zone. I do like that and what I see, but once again, we have to break a counter trend line to the upside to be able to go from there. If I'm looking at making any type of trade, I think the trade to be taken will end up being right around the 164 area if that does happen. Currently right now, this is more of a consolidation trade than anything else. With it being more of a consolidation trade, I would Euro Aussie until it gives an opportunity to being able to make a move. That being right around the 160. Until it ends up giving a move to the upside. Right now, Euro Aussie taking that one out. Let's take a look at New Zealand dollar Aussie. New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar. This might be our one chance of being able to find something. Okay. Let's see. Might have to do this one from the jump. Okay. Maybe look up the New Zealand dollar CAD, and I like what I see about the New Zealand dollar CAD, even though the market is expected to be bullish. We do have a drop in overall move. Market is expected to be bullish and not bearish. As a scalping opportunity, I do like that. Let's go to the weekly. Weekly is expected to fall. I'm gonna stay with that mindset. I'm not gonna look at that one. Let's see if we can find a pair that I can kind of open up a chart for the New Zealand. New Zealand Australian dollar. Or Australian New Zealand. Jeez. Okay, so Here we go. I'm going to do this one from the start because this has been an old chart. Let's see. I'm going to clear the screen. We're going to start over from the beginning, and you're going to see exactly how I end up doing this from a weekly, monthly, and a daily standpoint. Overall, I see that this monthly is in consolidation. We look at some overall lows to be able to pay attention to. We have a fractal low, or the lowest low, right around the 101, basically around the 102 area. For its overall spot. So we're just looking at that and basically placing that in. I'm gonna say that is the lowest support that we have. We're talking about a resistance area. Let's say from a resistance spot, we see that the market has found support right here, right here. May not hit all of the highs, but we're saying somewhere somewhat major at this particular point will probably be at the 1.11 area. This market has been proven that it's in consolidation, and I do not like how this market has just been consolidating just in general. It makes it easy to be able to do consolidation trades. It makes it very tough to only look at being able to trade this from a standpoint of doing swing trades. And this market moves very slow when it comes down to overall movement, so we have to pay attention to that. Now, the market is expected to fall. It falls down to 87 cents for its overall move. Currently, right now, we're looking at it. We can see that the market is in consolidation. We have an A to B to C move would end up being right here. So we're going to look at that on the weekly and then kind of see where we're at when it comes down to this overall move. Overall, once again, because this market is in consolidation, the only thing that really matters is how the market is consolidating. And the monthly chart doesn't matter at this particular point in time because it's not giving you a direction. Like even right there, it's not giving you a full direction. The only thing that we'll be looking for is small pockets of consolidation and small pockets of small pockets of resistance, small pockets of overall buying opportunity. Currently, right now, we're just looking at this. Go with your mom. Go with your mom. Currently, right now, we're just looking at this overall position. We see that we're in the buy zone, but we're in the middle of consolidation. We have another major minor low, which will end up being right about right here, where we've had support and resistance basically fall in at a couple positions. But once again, this one is not the clearest chart to be able to look at. We got people basically buying right here. It moved right there, fell down to support again right there. Fell down to support again right there. We're basically at another low. We're not at a whole number. So the question is 106 even an area where it's proven to be a resistance point? Or basically 105, is that proved to be a resistance point? We go lower, let's type in 105, right, 105. Okay, 105.50. $105.50 has been basically that point where we've seen a little bit of support, maybe not as much as resistance. So it's too much of a gamble unless we end up seeing a counter trend line break. If we see a counter trend line break anywhere around 105.50, then I would start looking at being able to buy from the weekly standpoint. But right now, I don't like what I'm seeing overall. Even counter trend line breaks doesn't make any sense right here. If we're buying this, we're just buying this strictly off of price action. And this market has proven that if it does, sometimes it will fall at 105, but I think that would be short and temporary, even though the weekly is in the buy zone. Let's take a look at the daily. I just want to see what it's looking at from the daily position. Daily is in the buy zone as well. Well, that gives it a little bit more comfort. I'll put it to you like this. If this market goes to 105.50, if it gives me a low price of 105.50 and then pops up and gives me a chance to be able to get some type of movement back up to support levels, like somewhere around right here, which would be at 107, which would be somewhat the same of that area. If we can be able to buy back up to that area, then I will pay attention to it. Right now, this is not a pair that I would really kind of focus in on that one. So That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for today. Obviously, we didn't look at U.S. based pairs. We looked at Australian pairs in preparation for what's going to happen with the interest rate decision a little bit later on today. So if you like what we end up doing, obviously you can like the Carter Cow Capital trading page. Please make sure that you end up going with Trade with Travis and subscribe and be able to be in tap with all of the stuff that we have for his overall videos. One thing that I would like to show y'all before we end up leaving out is, obviously, if you're a part of our masterclass, one of the things that you end up getting is our 5-star FMA. The biggest thing that we end up talking about more in general is what type of trading should you be doing and what type of trading will end up being the best for you when it comes down to certain positions. Well, what we've done and what we've added on to the system is, one, we always talked about overall market trend and being able to understand what's happening with the US based pairs. But also now we basically end up letting you know, based off our trade logic, which is going to end up being what is going to end up being the best trade to be able to take overall. Whether if it's a position trade, swing trade, scalp trade, or end up consolidating trading based off of the overall market. And what we've been able to find out is that based off these overall zones, we can be able to give you that logic to let you know on what to be able to trade. So if you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more about that and being able to see everything that goes along, you can go to cartercowcapital.com/start here and be able to hop in and take a look at that. My boys end up was Captain America and Iron Man for Halloween. They love wearing their suits. So here goes Captain America. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Come here, Iron Man. He don't have his full suit on, but he does have the hat. Let's see. Come here. And he took his hat off. No, Iron Man. All right. Like always, plan your trade. Trade your plan. Everyone, y'all have